Well, state capture chairperson Raymond Zondo is slamming the way the ANC allegedly handled or handed over Eskom to the Gupta family. Part 4 of the state capture report was released today, and it uncovers mass corruption at Eskom as well as the Free State housing and asbestos scandals, among others. The embattled utility says it set up a task team to deal with the report's findings. Our senior reporter Aviwe Mtila is covering the story for us. He joins us now live. So, Aviwe, let's talk about the attempts to actually capture Treasury. What's the finding in that regard?
Sean, it's a miracle how National Treasury was saved from attempts to capture it by the Guptas. That was the words of Chief Justice Raymond Zondo in the report. That was, of course, thousands and thousands of passages along. He went on to say that he shudders to think what would have happened if, for example, the four-day minister, Des Van Rooyen, and his advisors were allowed to stay at the National Treasury. What would happen to the finances and the purse of the country? Of course, it did say that some of the people that were instrumental in stopping that capture was the former finance ministers Nhlanhla Nene as well as Pravin Gordhan. That was just volume 1 of the part 4 of the report, which also looked at EOH and the dealings it had with the city of Johannesburg. There, it fingered the Deputy Minister of State Security, Zizi Kodwa, and questioned the relation he had with one Mr. McKay from EOH. Of course, the report went on to say that the president should question and consider Zizi Kodwa's position as the Deputy State Security Minister, given that he owes basically McKay some 1.7 million rand. Of course, not stopping there, Shahan, Volume 2 went on to look at the Free State and two entities there, the Human Settlements Department, when it looked at asbestos, there 255 million rand spent there, how that was irregular given to Black Consulting and Diamond Hill Trading, and how they didn't qualify, but yet are the ones that received those tenders. It also looked at Mosebenzi Zwane, who was then the MEC of the Department of Human Settlements, and that infamous 1 billion rand housing tender. It spoke of some 500 million rand that was spent in the 2010-2011 financial year, while on the ground, Shahan, hardly anything was spent. In fact, it went on to mention how MEC Mosebenzi Zwane at that time was an absolute failure as the MEC, as a detailed, basically a summary of part 4, volume 1 and 2.
Yeah. So tell me more about Eskom and the findings there, because we know that Eskom's actually set up a team with internal and external lawyers to go through the findings. It's also promising to take necessary action against those who still work for the company.
Yes, and the majority of the remainder of the report, Volume 3 and Volume 4, looked specifically at Eskom, where it went on to speak about former President Jacob Zuma, saying that he played a crucial part in the Gupta plot to capture Eskom. Basically, it went on to speak of the 4 suspensions of the 4 senior executives that happened back in 2015 in March, the 12th of March, and the events that happened before that. You'd remember that there were meetings that were held at former President Jacob Zuma's home in Durban, where the former chairperson of South African Airways, Dudu Myeni, was present, alongside the then Eskom board chairperson, Zola Tsotsi. What was questioned was Zuma's involvement in those meetings, but we do understand that was just 4 days ahead of the suspension then of the 4 senior executives, replaced by people that would then do the bidding of the Guptas. It went on to bring back Mosebenzi Zwane, who was then appointed as the Minister of Minerals Resources, questioned appointment given how he was a failed MEC already in the Free State. The report basically saying that there was no way that that could have been done on merit and on his achievements, given that he had failed in the Free State. It also went on to tell how the former Minister of Mineral Resources, Ramashodi, refused to do the Gupta's bidding and was then sacked, removed, made Minister of Public Administration, and that was touted to be a promotion, while, of course, it was done for nefarious reasons. At the core of Eskom, of course, and the rot that happened there, the names of Majele Popo were brought back The names of Brian Mulifi and Anot Singh was brought back as the key people that allowed the tenders and the contracts that went to the Gupta companies to prevail, and of course allowed the Gupta bidding to happen. Just a summary of volume 3 and 4 that detailed in the majority the rot that happened at Eskom.
Yeah, so there's so much I know to unpack, but it's a lot of pages for you to get through. When do we actually expect the final report to be handed over to the presidency?
Well, the date that was given, Jahan, the 5th and final report is expected on the 15th of June. And of course, we're expecting then the president to deliberate on that, make his recommendations to Parliament, and hoping that steps would be taken on the right direction of getting accountability, and even more importantly, just some of those monies and the resources back to the state.
Okay, we're going to leave it right there. Our senior reporter covering that story for us, Aviwe Mtila.